My freeloading cousin's girlfriend. Rearranged my entire apartment without asking. When I confronted her, she said my cousin only keeps me around because he feels bad for me. So I rearranged his stuff out the front door and changed the locks while they were at brunch. Now he's begging to come back. Sup, Reddit. Never thought I'd be posting here, but this situation has gotten so absurd that I need to get it off my chest. Fair warning, this is going to be long, and yeah, some of you might think I went nuclear. But after you hear the full story, you'll understand why I did what I did. 3 years ago, I bought a 2-bedroom apartment in a solid neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. Paid for it myself, decorated it the way I wanted, and it became my sanctuary after years of grinding through college and entry-level positions that paid garbage. My cousin Derek is 27 male, and we grew up pretty close. Same neighborhood, went to the same schools, hung out all the time as kids. Our moms are sisters, so we spent every holiday, birthday, and random weekend together. When we were young, Derek was actually fun to be around. We'd play video games, build forts, ride bikes around the neighborhood until the streetlights came on. Normal cousin stuff. But somewhere around high school, Derek developed this philosophy that hard work was for suckers and that he could coast through life on charm and connections. He was the kind of guy who'd copy homework 5 minutes before class, sweet-talk teachers into giving him extensions, and somehow convince his parents that a D- was actually pretty good, considering how hard the class was. Spoiler alert, that approach doesn't actually work in the real world. Derek's had like 8 different jobs in the past 5 years. Sales positions mostly, because he's got that smooth talker energy that makes people trust him initially. Car sales, insurance, timeshares, cell phone plans, you name it, he's tried to sell it. But then he'd either get fired for not meeting quotas or quit because the job was beneath him or didn't appreciate his talent. His resume looks like a goddamn phone book at this point. The longest he ever kept a job was 7 months at a luxury car dealership. He talked constantly about the commission he was going to make, showed me pictures of the Mercedes and BMWs he was selling, acted like he was about to be the next Wolf of Wall Street. Then the manager caught him lying to customers about vehicle histories and fired him on the spot. Derek's version of the story was that the manager was jealous of his natural sales ability. Sure, buddy, that's definitely what happened. Between jobs, Derek would crash with different family members, always with the same story about how he just needed a few weeks to get back on his feet. He'd stay with his parents until they got tired of him sleeping until 2 p.m. every day. Then he'd move to his other aunt's house until she realized he was using her car without asking and racking up parking tickets. Then he'd find some friend from high school who'd let him use their couch. The pattern was predictable. He'd wear out his welcome, move on, repeat. 6 months ago, Derek called me out of the blue. We hadn't talked much in a while. I'd been busy with work and honestly trying to distance myself from family drama. But he sounded desperate, said he'd gotten laid off again and his roommate situation had fallen through. Asked if he could crash at my place for just a couple weeks while he figured things out. I should have said no. My gut told me to say no. Every rational part of my brain was screaming no. But we're family, right? And I had that second bedroom just sitting there, mostly used for storage and my home gym equipment. I had a weight bench, some dumbbells, a yoga mat I'd used maybe twice, and about 15 boxes of stuff I kept meaning to sort through but never did. The room was wasted space, basically. Plus, Derek caught me at a weak moment. I just finished a brutal project at work, 3 months of 60-hour weeks dealing with legacy code that someone else wrote badly, and I was feeling guilty about not being more available to family. My mom had been making comments about how I was too focused on work and forgetting where I came from. Classic parent guilt trip stuff. So I said yes. That was my first mistake. Derek moved in on a Tuesday afternoon, showed up with 2 suitcases, a duffel bag, and a cardboard box of random crap. Not exactly traveling light, but whatever. He gave me this whole speech about how grateful he was, how he'd be out in 2 weeks max, how he was already applying to jobs and had a few interviews lined up. He talked about this sales position at a tech startup that he was basically guaranteed to get. Said the guy who ran the company was a friend of a friend, and they'd really clicked during their phone conversation. The usual song and rhymes. I'd heard it all before from other family members who'd housed Derek, but I wanted to believe him this time. Maybe because I was the cousin he'd been close with as a kid. Maybe because I'm an idiot who can't set boundaries. Probably both. Within 3 days, it became clear that applying to jobs meant sending out maybe 2 applications a week between playing video games and sleeping until noon. Derek would wake up around 11 a.m., make himself breakfast using all my good ingredients. Not the cheap stuff, but my actual nice coffee beans, my organic eggs, my artisan bread. Then settle into my couch for a marathon session of whatever shooter game was popular that month. When I'd get home from work around 6 p.m., he'd be in the exact same spot, controller in hand, surrounded by empty energy drink cans and chip bags. He'd look up, say, "Hey man, how was work?" and then immediately return to his game. No job searching, no cleaning, no meal prep. Just gaming and existing in my space. I'd ask about his job hunt, and he'd give me vague updates about applications he'd sent or interviews that were pending. When I pressed for details, he'd get defensive. "Dude, I'm handling it. Job searching is stressful enough without you interrogating me about it." But whatever. It was annoying, but tolerable. He wasn't actively making my life worse, just existing in my space like a particularly lazy roommate. I figured he'd eventually get his shit together and move out. I gave him the benefit of the doubt, kept thinking that maybe next week would be different. Maybe he just needed time to decompress from getting fired again. The first month passed, then the second month. Derek was still there, still jobless, still contributing exactly nothing to the household. He'd eat my food, use my Netflix account, run up my electricity bill with his all-night gaming sessions, never once offered to help with groceries or utilities, never cleaned up after himself beyond the bare minimum, never even bought a roll of toilet paper. I tried having conversations about it. Hey man, I know you're going through stuff, but maybe you could chip in for groceries? His response was always some version of, yeah, totally, just as soon as I get my first paycheck. Which would have been fine if he was actually trying to get a paycheck. But the job search had basically stopped entirely by week 3. My friends noticed the change in me. I stopped hosting game nights because Derek would awkwardly insert himself into everything. Stopped inviting people over for dinner because I couldn't guarantee there'd be enough food. Derek would sometimes eat ingredients I'd bought for specific recipes. Started spending more time at coffee shops and the office just to have my own space. Then, about 2 months after Derek moved in, he introduced me to Brittany. Brittany is 25F, works part-time at some boutique downtown that sells overpriced candles and home decor. The kind of place where a throw pillow costs $80 and they call it curated instead of marked up. She's got that very specific personality that makes you tired just being around her. You know the type, constantly talking about her aesthetic, her vibe, her energy, and her opinions on how everyone else should live their lives. One of those people who's watched too many interior design TikToks and thinks that makes them an expert on spatial planning and color theory. The first time I met her, Derek had given me zero warning. I came home from work on a Thursday evening, looking forward to heating up some leftover Thai food and watching the Celtics game. Instead, I walked into my apartment to find this stranger sitting on my couch, shoes off, feet up on my coffee table, scrolling through her phone like she owned the place. "Oh, hey!" Derek called from the kitchen. "This is Brittany." "Babe, this is my cousin Ryan." Brittany looked up from her phone, gave me a quick up and down assessment, and said, "Hey," then immediately went back to scrolling. No nice to meet you. No thanks for letting Derek stay here. No basic acknowledgement that she was a guest in someone else's home. After a few minutes of watching her not move her feet off my coffee table, I went to my room to change out of my work clothes. When I came back out, Brittany was walking through my apartment like she was conducting an inspection. Opened my cabinets, looked at my kitchen setup, wandered down the hallway peeking into rooms. Finally, she settled back on the couch and said to Derek, loud enough for me to obviously hear, "Wow, very bachelor pad energy." Derek laughed nervously. "Yeah, Ryan is pretty low-key about decor. I can tell," she said, her voice dripping with judgment. Like, does he know throw pillows exist? Or that you can put things on walls besides random posters? I had artwork on my walls. Framed prints of cities I'd visited. A vintage map of Austin. Some photography a local artist sold at a market. Not expensive stuff, but not random posters either. But sure, Brittany, judge away. That was just the introduction. It got worse. Within 2 weeks of meeting her, Brittany was spending every night at my apartment. Not staying over occasionally. I'm talking 7 nights a week. All her stuff scattered around, using my bathroom products, eating my food, taking up space in my living room. I never agreed to this. Derek never asked if it was okay. She just started showing up every evening after her shift at the boutique and wouldn't leave until the next morning. Her stuff began accumulating like an invasive species. Hair products in my bathroom, her special brand of oat milk in my fridge, her shoes by the front door, her jackets on my coat rack, her hair ties on every surface. It was like she was slowly moving in through stealth tactics. I tried talking to Derek about it. "Hey man, I get that you're seeing someone, but Brittany's here every single night. That's basically another roommate I didn't agree to. She's just staying over sometimes," he said, completely straight-faced. "Derek, she's here every night. Her toothbrush is in my bathroom." "Okay, yeah, it's most nights, but it's not like she's causing problems." Except she was causing problems. My bathroom had become a product warehouse. My kitchen was full of her weird health food that I'd never eat. My living room smelled like her patchouli perfume 24/7. And most importantly, I'd never been asked if any of this was okay. "Can you at least ask her to bring her own groceries? She's eating all my food." Derek promised he would. Surprise? Nothing changed. The dynamic in my apartment shifted. It wasn't just me tolerating Derek anymore. Now I was tolerating Derek and his girlfriend, who both seemed to think they were doing me a favor by existing in my space. They'd be cuddled on my couch when I got home from work, watching my TV using my streaming services. They'd cook elaborate meals in my kitchen using my pots, pans, and ingredients, then leave me with the dishes. When I'd come home exhausted from work, they'd be in the middle of a movie and give me annoyed looks for interrupting by walking through my own living room. Brittany actually shushed me once when I was talking on the phone with my mom. In my own apartment, she shushed me. I started spending more time in my bedroom. It was the only space that felt like mine anymore. I'd eat dinner in there, work from my bed, basically treat it like a studio apartment within my apartment. Looking back, that should have been my sign that things had gone too far. When you're hiding in your bedroom to avoid dealing with people in your own home, something's wrong. Things started getting really weird about a month ago. I came home from work one day to find Brittany had reorganized my kitchen. All my cabinets had been rearranged, my spices were in some new configuration that made no sense, and she'd thrown away a bunch of my Tupperware because it didn't match. I kept my spices alphabetically organized, made it easy to find what I needed when cooking. She'd rearranged them by color. Who organizes spices by color? How does that help anyone? When I asked her what the hell she was doing, she just smiled and said, You're welcome. It was bothering me how disorganized everything was. Now you can actually find things. I could find things before. They were where I put them. In my apartment. That I own. Brittany, you can't just rearrange my kitchen. This is my home. I was trying to help. Your system made no sense. It made sense to me. Because it's my system. In my kitchen. She rolled her eyes. You're being so sensitive about this. I spent hours making this better for you. I told Derek this was not okay. That Brittany needed to stop touching my stuff. He promised to talk to her. Gave me this whole speech about how she was just trying to be helpful. How she came from a big family where everyone helped each other out. How I should appreciate her taking an interest in the space. I don't need her to take an interest in my space, I said. I need her to respect my boundaries. Yeah, I'll talk to her. Spoiler. He didn't talk to her. Or if he did, it didn't matter. The next week, I came home to find she'd fixed my bathroom. Rearranged all my toiletries, thrown away my bath mat because it was ugly and probably full of bacteria. It wasn't. I'd bought it 3 months ago. And replaced my shower curtain with some boho chic monstrosity she'd bought with, I'm assuming, Derek's money. Which was actually my money since I was covering rent and groceries for both of them at this point. The new shower curtain had these long macrame tassels that dragged in the tub. They'd get soaking wet and stay damp for hours, creating the perfect environment for actual mold. But sure, Brittany, much better than my simple, functional shower curtain that dried quickly and didn't harbor bacteria. Again, I told Derek this had to stop. Again, he said he'd handle it. Again, nothing changed. I started documenting everything. Took pictures of my apartment setup so I'd have evidence of how things were supposed to be. Kept receipts for stuff I bought that they used. Started a running list on my phone of every overstep and boundary violation. I don't know why. Maybe I knew this was heading somewhere bad and wanted proof I wasn't crazy. Then came last Monday, the day everything went to absolute shit. I'd been working from home that day, taking calls in my bedroom with the door closed. Had back-to-back meetings until about 4 p.m. Client presentations, technical deep dives, the usual grind. I was mentally exhausted by the time I finished, looking forward to maybe ordering some food and zoning out for a few hours. When I finally emerged from my bedroom, I walked into my living room and literally stopped in my tracks. Everything, and I mean everything, had been moved. My couch was against a different wall, angled in a way that made the room feel smaller. My TV was in a completely different spot, mounted on a wall where it had never been before. My bookshelf had been relocated across the room, with all my books rearranged by color instead of by author or genre like I'd had them. My framed prints were taken down and replaced with these weird macrame wall hangings that looked like something from a bohemian fever dream. Even my coffee table was different. She'd apparently gone out and bought a new one, putting my old one in the storage closet. My rug was rolled up and replaced with a different one. My curtains were changed. My lamps were moved. The plants I'd carefully positioned near the windows were scattered around randomly, with no regard for their light needs. My cable management system was destroyed. Wires everywhere. Even the fucking throw blanket on my couch was different. I stood there in shock, trying to process what I was seeing. This wasn't just rearranging a few things. This was a complete overhaul of my living space without my permission, knowledge, or consent. Brittany was sitting on my relocated couch, scrolling through her phone, looking pleased with herself. She had this satisfied smirk, like she'd just accomplished something major. Derek was in the kitchen making a sandwich, acting like nothing was unusual. Like this was just a normal Tuesday. What the fuck did you do to my apartment? I asked, my voice probably louder than necessary. Brittany looked up with this bright, fake smile. I redesigned your living room. It was so dark and cramped before. Now it has much better flow. Don't you love it? No, I don't love it. This is my apartment. You can't just rearrange all my furniture without asking. She rolled her eyes, that smile dropping into annoyance. Oh my god, you're being so dramatic. I was trying to do something nice for you. The layout was terrible before. Totally blocked the natural light. This is much better for your mental health. Studies show that proper spatial flow can reduce stress and anxiety. My mental health was fine before you fucked with my stuff, lady. Where's my coffee table? I demanded. That old thing? I put it in storage. It was way too big for the space, and the wood was super dated. This new one is much more modern. I liked my coffee table. I picked it out. And where are my books that were organized by author? Oh, organizing books by color is so much more aesthetic. Don't you follow any interior design accounts? Nobody organizes by author anymore. I do. I organize by author. Because I actually read my books and want to find them easily. Derek came over, putting his arm around Brittany. Come on, man. She spent all day on this. Can't you just appreciate the effort? I don't want to appreciate the effort. I want my apartment back the way it was. Right now. Brittany stood up, crossing her arms. You know what? I've been trying to help you. This place looked like a teenage boy's first apartment. I was doing you a favor. The feng shui was completely off. I didn't ask for a favor. I asked you not to touch my stuff. Multiple times. Maybe if you had any sense of style, I wouldn't have had to fix it for you. Like you had a poster from college just randomly stuck to the wall. Do you know how that looks? That was a signed print from a visiting lecturer I'd really admired. Not that she bothered to ask. Brittany, you need to put everything back the way it was. Today. Right now. She crossed her arms. No. Just no. Like she had any right to refuse. Excuse me? I said no. I spent 6 hours rearranging everything. And I'm not putting it back just because you're having some kind of control issue. This is better. You just need to adjust. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. Every anger management technique I'd ever read was being employed. Count to 10. Breathe deeply. Remove yourself from the situation if needed. I turned to Derek. Control your girlfriend or both of you are out. Derek's face went red. Dude, that's harsh. She was just trying to help make this place nicer. For all of us. This isn't our place, Derek. It's my place. That I own. That I'm letting you stay in rent-free because you're family. And I'm about 5 seconds away from ending that arrangement. That's when Brittany really let her mask slip. She stepped forward, getting right in my face. You want to know the truth? Derek only lets you think you're doing him a favor by letting him stay here. The real reason he stays is because he feels bad for you. I actually laughed. Like, genuinely laughed. He feels bad for me? I own this apartment. I have a stable job. I'm not the one couch surfing because I can't hold down employment for more than 6 months. You live alone in a 2-bedroom apartment at 29, she shot back, her voice dripping with contempt. No girlfriend, no social life, just work and sitting in this sad little space by yourself every night. Derek stays here because he's a good person who doesn't want you to be so pathetically lonely. He's doing you a favor. He told me you basically begged him to move in because you couldn't stand being alone anymore. The audacity. The sheer fucking audacity. I looked at Derek, waiting for him to correct her, to say that wasn't true, to defend me even slightly. He just stood there, looking uncomfortable but not disagreeing, not saying a word. That silence told me everything I needed to know. Is that what you told her? I asked quietly. Derek shifted his weight. I mean, I didn't say you begged exactly, but you did tell her I was pathetically lonely? That you were doing me a favor? Come on, man, you know I didn't mean it like that. I felt this weird calm wash over me. You know that moment when you're so angry that you loop back around to being completely rational? That's where I was. The rage was so intense it became this cold, calculating clarity. Interesting take, I said quietly. Tell you what, put everything back exactly the way it was by tonight, and we can all pretend this conversation never happened. Brittany smirked. Or what? Or you can both find somewhere else to live. Derek finally spoke up, his voice rising. Bro, you can't be serious. Where am I supposed to go? You're really going to kick me out over some furniture arrangement. I'm going to kick you out for 6 months of taking advantage of my hospitality, allowing your girlfriend to disrespect my home and insult me, and apparently telling people I'm some pathetic charity case. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. This is bullshit, Brittany snapped. You're being completely unreasonable. My apartment, my rules, and my decision is that you're both done here. I went back to my room, closed the door, and immediately started making calls. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from that weird adrenaline you get when you finally stand up for yourself after months of being walked over. First call, locksmith. Found one that could come the next day during business hours. Scheduled them for 11 a.m. Second call, Amazon. Ordered a Ring doorbell camera with overnight delivery. Third call, my buddy James, who works in property management. Hey man, weird question. Know any movers who can work on short notice? How short? Tomorrow morning. Damn. What's going on? I gave him the abbreviated version. He whistled. About time you kicked them out. Yeah, I know a guy. Give me 5 minutes. Within 10 minutes, I had a moving crew scheduled for the next morning at 10 a.m. 3 guys, $200 for a couple hours of work. Money well spent. That night, I stayed in my room with the door locked. Could hear Derek and Brittany out in the living room, talking in low voices, probably strategizing or convincing themselves I wouldn't actually follow through. I heard Brittany's voice getting louder at one point. He's just throwing a tantrum. He'll get over it. They'd fucked around. Now they were about to find out. Around midnight, Derek knocked on my door. Ryan? Man, come on. Let's talk about this. I didn't respond. Ryan, seriously, where am I supposed to go? Still didn't respond. Fine, be a dick about it. The next morning, Derek and Brittany announced they were going to brunch with some of her friends. Some trendy place downtown with bottomless mimosas and overpriced avocado toast that would probably take at least 2 hours round trip. Perfect. I watched from my bedroom window as they got in Derek's beat-up Honda and drove away. As soon as they turned the corner, I started executing the plan. Called James's mover contact. They showed up within 30 minutes. 3 guys in a truck, ready to work. I'd already separated what was Derek's from what was mine. His 2 suitcases, the duffel bag, the box of crap, but also all the stuff that had accumulated over 6 months. His clothes from my closet where he'd started hanging things. His toiletries from my bathroom. His gaming setup from my living room. The groceries he'd bought, all 5 items. Everything. We spent the next hour systematically removing every single item that belonged to Derek and Brittany from my apartment. Brittany's hair products, her special oat milk, her jackets, her shoes, her weird decorative items she'd scattered around. Derek's gaming chair, his controllers, his collection of energy drinks, his clothes, his shoes, all of it. The movers were efficient and non-judgmental. They'd clearly done this kind of thing before. We stacked everything neatly in the hallway outside my front door, covered with tarps in case it rained. I even included the macrame wall hangings and the new coffee table. Not mine, not my problem. While the movers were finishing up, the locksmith arrived right on schedule. Changed all my locks, front door, deadbolt, everything. Gave me 3 new keys. Installed the Ring doorbell with motion detection and 2-way audio. The whole process took about 45 minutes. The locksmith, an older guy named Rick, looked at the pile of stuff in the hallway. Roommate situation? Something like that. Been there. Changed my locks 4 times in the 90s. Good for you for standing up for yourself. By the time we were done, my apartment looked like Derek and Brittany had never been there. I rearranged my living room back to the way it was. Took some effort because Brittany had been surprisingly strong when moving my couch, and she'd scratched my hardwood floors in the process. Put my books back in order by author. Rehung my framed prints. Got my coffee table out of storage. Sat down on my couch, in my apartment, arranged exactly how I wanted it, and waited. They came back around 2:15 p.m., mimosa drunk and laughing about something. I watched on my new Ring camera as Derek fumbled with his key. Tried to put it in the lock. Didn't work. Tried again, jiggling it harder. Still nothing. What the hell? I heard him say. Then, he saw the pile of stuff in the hallway. All their belongings under tarps, stacked neatly like the world's saddest yard sale. Brittany screamed, like genuinely screamed. Full-on horror movie pitch. What the fuck? She shrieked. Derek started banging on the door. Ryan! Ryan, open up! I watched on my phone sound off as they both freaked out. Derek pounded on the door. Brittany was yelling. A neighbor poked their head out, saw the situation, and quickly went back inside. Another neighbor, Mrs. Chen from across the hall, came out and started asking questions. Derek tried to explain. She shook her head and went back to her apartment. My phone started ringing immediately. I let it go to voicemail. Then it rang again, and again. After the 5th call, I answered. Ryan, what the fuck did you do? Derek shouted. I rearranged some things, I said calmly. You know, like Brittany did to my apartment. Thought I'd return the favor. You can't just lock us out. This is illegal. I have tenant rights. Actually, it's not illegal. You're not on the lease. You have no rental agreement. You've never paid me rent. You have no legal right to be here. I've been letting you stay out of the goodness of my heart, which apparently you interpreted as me being pathetically lonely and desperate for company. I didn't mean that. Brittany said what you told her. That I begged you to stay. That you were doing me a favor. That I'm some sad, lonely loser who couldn't stand being alone. Ring a bell? Silence. Yeah, that's what I thought. Brittany grabbed the phone. You're a fucking asshole. Where are we supposed to go? You can't just throw people out with no warning. I gave you a warning. Last night, I told you to put everything back and we could move forward. You chose to refuse. Actions, consequences. Welcome to adulting. This is illegal. I'm calling the cops. Go ahead. Tell them you've been squatting in my apartment without permission, rearranging my furniture, and insulting me. See how that goes. I hung up. The calls kept coming. Derek, Brittany, then other family members, as they started blasting their version of events to anyone who would listen. My Aunt Carol called, demanding I let Derek back in immediately. My Uncle Ray called, saying I was being cruel and heartless. Even my mom called within an hour, disappointed that I would treat family this way. Ryan, this is not who we raised you to be. You raised me to set boundaries and stand up for myself. That's exactly what I'm doing. You're being vindictive. Derek made a mistake. He made hundreds of mistakes over 6 months. He and his girlfriend treated my home like their personal playground, and then insulted me when I finally had enough. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern of disrespect. Where is he supposed to go? Not my problem anymore, Mom. She hung up on me. I didn't answer any more calls. Just let them go to voicemail. Listen to them later that evening for entertainment value. Derek's messages ranged from apologetic, I'm sorry man, can we please talk about this? To angry, you're going to regret this, you selfish prick. To desperate, I literally have nowhere to go, please, I'm begging you. Brittany's messages were even better. You're fucking pathetic, one said. This is why you're alone, said another. My personal favorite. I hope you die alone in that ugly apartment. The family group chat, which I'd muted months ago, was apparently exploding. I unmuted it just to see the chaos. My aunt was posting long paragraphs about the importance of forgiveness and family loyalty. My mom sent this message about how I was being stubborn and prideful. Even my grandma chimed in, saying I was being harsh. Only 2 people defended me. My older brother Tyler, who texted about damn time, and my cousin Rachel, who sent a private message saying, your apartment, your rules. Derek's been pulling this shit with everyone for years. By evening, the pile of stuff in the hallway was gone. Presumably they'd found somewhere to store it. Some friend's garage or storage unit or whatever. My apartment was quiet, peaceful, exactly the way I liked it. That was 3 days ago. Since then, the harassment has been intense. Derek has sent me probably 50 texts ranging from apologetic to threatening to pathetic. The desperation in his messages has been ramping up. Ryan, I'm staying at Mike's place, but I can only crash here for a few more days. Please. I had a job interview today. Went really well. If I get it, I can pay you rent. This is fucked up and you know it. Over some furniture? I'm sorry about what Brittany said. She was drunk and didn't mean it. Brittany has been even worse, alternating between calling me every name in the book and trying to gaslight me into thinking I'm the problem. She created a fake Instagram account to DM me, which I reported and blocked. She called my office pretending to be a client, which got shut down real fast. The family pressure has been relentless. My aunt posted this long Facebook rant about how younger generations don't understand sacrifice and family. My uncle called me selfish and cold-hearted in the family group chat. My mom keeps sending me Bible verses about forgiveness. But here's the thing. I don't feel bad. Not even a little bit. For 6 months, I let Derek live in my apartment rent-free. I covered his food, his utilities, his entire existence. I was patient when he couldn't find a job. I was understanding when he brought his girlfriend around without asking. I tried to be a good cousin and a good person. And what did I get for it? My boundaries completely ignored, my stuff rearranged without permission, and the revelation that they both saw me as some pathetic charity case who should be grateful for their company. Yesterday, Derek showed up at my door. I could see him on the Ring camera looking rough. 3 days of couch surfing had clearly taken a toll. His hair was messy, his clothes were wrinkled, and he had bags under his eyes. He knocked for about 5 minutes straight, then just stood there, then knocked again. Ryan, I know you can hear me. Please, just let me explain. I watched on my phone, didn't respond. I'm sorry, okay? I should have stopped Brittany from messing with your stuff. I should have paid rent. I should have been a better house guest. I know that now. Still didn't respond. Please, man. I'm family. You can't just throw me away like this. After about 10 minutes, he finally left. Found a note under my door when I got home from work. Ryan, I'm sorry, I really am. I should have stood up for you when Brittany said those things. I should have respected your space. I took advantage of your kindness, and I know that now. Please give me another chance. I promise things will be different. I'll get a job. I'll pay rent. I'll make sure Brittany never comes over again. Please. I'm staying at a homeless shelter right now, and I don't know how much longer I can do this. You're my family. Please don't give up on me. I read it twice, then threw it away. Here's the thing about second chances. They only work if the person has actually changed. And Derek hasn't changed. He's just experiencing consequences for the first time in his adult life, and he doesn't like it. If I let him back in, things would be fine for maybe a week. Then the old patterns would start again. He'd slowly stop looking for jobs. Then Brittany would start coming around. Then I'd be right back where I started, except this time they'd know I'd cave if they pushed hard enough. So no, I'm not giving him another chance. I'm not opening my door to someone who sees my kindness as weakness and my home as his crash pad. This morning, my mom called. Actually called, not texted. I almost didn't answer, but figured I should hear her out. Ryan, this has gone too far, she started. Derek is staying at a shelter. A shelter. How can you live with yourself? Pretty easily, actually. I sleep in my own apartment, in my own space, without anyone rearranging my furniture or calling me pathetically lonely. He's your cousin. He made mistakes. He made continuous mistakes. Over 6 months. He and his girlfriend treated my home like their personal playground and insulted me when I had a problem with it. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern of disrespect. What do you want him to do? Grovel. I want him to take responsibility for his own life, instead of bouncing from couch to couch expecting other people to save him. I want him to get a stable job and keep it for more than 6 months. I want him to learn that actions have consequences. But mostly, I just want him to leave me alone. She sighed heavily. You've become so cold, Ryan. That tech job has changed you. No, Mom, that tech job gave me the means to finally set boundaries. There's a difference. She hung up on me. Look, I know how this sounds. I know some of you reading this think I'm heartless, that I should give Derek another chance, that family is supposed to stick together, that I'm being unnecessarily cruel.